Hunter had very specific ideas of what these characters should be. Bruce had been auditioning girls or women for the role of Chenault in the film. So she came to my office. I took one look at her and I thought, yeah, that's the Chenault that Hunter wants.
Well, it was my understanding that he was bringing to life his late friend. And what he told me was that this character is supposed to be the dream woman, like the dream, American dream. And so I knew what he meant. He indicated to me when he told me I got the role that I was that, you know, that I was the dream kid. That's what he said. It was a bit surreal, you know, filming in a place like Puerto Rico. It was beautiful. It takes place in the 50s, so everything really looked beautiful, you know, cars and clothing, the music. It was a very colorful shoot in general. I couldn't have asked for, you know, a better scenario.
The Rum Diary, that's the movie where Johnny Depp meets Amber Heard. First time they meet. 2009 is when all this happens, and they filmed the movie down in Puerto Rico. And this is important because today there was some testimony about the filming of this movie and how Johnny Depp changed after this movie. So the movie is Hunter S. Thompson is his great friend who was this alcoholic, drug addict, but very talented writer and a good friend of Johnny Depp's. And this is kind of the movie that's sort of, like Amber said, bringing his friend to life. So it was a passion project for Johnny Depp. And in this passion project is where he meets Amber Heard. But today, Joel Mandel, Johnny Depp's former business manager, talked about what happened to Johnny after filming this movie with Amber.
My sense of the challenge of this representation and my description of the challenge would change probably sometime around 2010. I say that because it was the time after he had shot the film Rum Diaries, and he had come back from that picture, and what had always been slightly difficulty in arranging meetings became more difficulty. And what I had always experienced as someone who liked to enjoy his wine at the end of the day became consumption that seemed excessive, and the ability to coordinate and find times when he would meet became more difficult. And it became clear over time that there were issues with alcohol and drugs, and that translated into more erratic behavior, more stressful behavior, more times when it was difficult to engage in the kinds of conversations I needed to do my job. And so it became more of a challenge for a variety of those reasons after 2010.
All right, so you're putting that time frame, right? The time frame is when this movie was made and he met Amber. Was it the movie? Was it Amber? What's going on here? Let's listen to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard now describe this use of alcohol and why and the impact it has in their relationship and the violence in the relationship. Take a listen.
I was more inspired by Miss Heard to reach out for a numbing agent because of the constant clashes.
No matter what I did to de-escalate, walk away from him, to confront him, to try to... Nothing I did made a difference. Nothing I did changed his rage at me. Nothing I did changed the violence towards me. Nothing I did calmed him down. And I was constantly doing a juggling act of what kind of version of Johnny I was dealing with. There were different versions of him, and they were drastically different from one another, and even more so than them being different from one another, they didn't even sometimes remember what the other version did or said. They acted almost like independent versions of this person, depending on what combination of drugs and alcohol he was on.
I think we're really at the crossroads of what this trial is about. Are these clashes with each other causing the drug use, or does the drug use cause the clashes? Still with us, human behavior expert Susan Constantine, joining us now in Los Angeles, California, family law litigator, TikTok lawyer, and host of the Love and Order podcast. Limor Mojdahizad is back with us. Be sure to check out her podcast on Spotify and Apple Pods, and you can check her out at TikTok at Lawyer Limor. And joining us in New York City, psychotherapist, host of Talking Live on Facebook Watch and the Bite Side podcast, Dr. Robbie Ludwood. Great to see everyone. All right, Limor, how do you see this issue, and how do you think the jury might see this issue of they filmed together, and that's when everyone now, all of a sudden, after Johnny meets Amber, that's when his behavior changes. So does that support the clashes causing him to go run towards the drug and alcohol, or is he just at this point now picking up the drugs and alcohol and causing these clashes?
Well, it all depends on where the jury's heads are at this point. In order for this testimony to help Johnny Depp, you must believe that alcohol and the pressures of a breakup with the woman you have children with, the pressures of Hollywood, none of those things impacted him. It was just meeting Amber Heard on the set of Rum Diaries, which, that was the honeymoon stage of their relationship, right? They fell in love when they first met. So, it helps him, but it also, I think, helps Amber as well.
Dr. Robbie Ludwood, what's going on in this relationship? And is this relationship the downfall of Johnny Depp, or did she happen to meet him in the midst or the beginning of his downfall?
I do think we are hearing the history of Johnny Depp, and he has a problem with alcohol. And many people in his life have reported that. And perhaps it escalated, having a bad relationship with Amber Heard, but I don't think that Johnny can blame Amber Heard for having a drug and alcohol issue. And I think it's problematic for Johnny if he truly is doing that, because then he's not taking responsibility for his own addiction and addictive behavior.
It's a fascinating issue because there's the violence, the clashes between the two, and the alcohol are connected. Both are saying they're connected. Amber says it's going in one direction. Johnny says it's going in the other. Susan, I want you to take a listen to Johnny Depp here, because this is another fascinating part of this time frame. Is the making of this movie about his friend Hunter S. Thompson, the Rum Diary. Take a listen, because I think, and I have a question on the other side, which is Johnny Depp trying to live the life of his friend, and is that why coming out of this movie, all of a sudden he's drinking more or taking part in more drugs? Let's listen.
Hunter Thompson and I were going through some of his manuscripts of his books that have been published, and then I found this manuscript in one of his boxes, and it was called The Rum Diary, and I had heard about it, and I knew it was what they called his long-lost novel. In fact, the only novel he ever wrote. And I showed it to him, and Hunter was shocked. Oh my God, that's where it is, And so he said, read me some. So I started reading this to him, and he said, this is a movie, we must produce this together. And, he got all excited about the idea of doing that. So we went right into it.
And Susan, the life, I mean, this movie, The Rum Diary, is semi-autobiographical of Hunter S. Thompson, who lived this life of addiction and alcohol and this crazy, crazy life. Do you think that could be the influence, that doing this movie, he got into character, never got out?
I don't know. You know, Vinny, that's kind of far-reaching as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if that's the reason why. But what I do know is that when he's rubbing his ear and he's doing this, there is a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of backstory. So we don't really know what he's thinking, but we know what he's feeling. So you connect those feelings with what he is exhibiting, right? Those words that he's talking about. And there is some sort of anticipation that he had, expectation that he had of it. And somewhere along the line, it didn't quite turn out the way he thought it would.
So, Lamar, I want to get back to the timing of all this, because it really struck me. Like, if he is out of control and it has no relation to Amber Heard, that's one thing. But this is from his own manager saying this is when it started. This is when it's, so you think the jury's going to think it's a coincidence that Amber Heard enters his life just at the point where things are falling apart and he's becoming much more out of control with drugs and alcohol?
I think that maybe the jury might feel that there's a direct correlation based on the way it was presented, but it's hard for me to believe that they were actually able to find jurors who don't know Johnny Depp at all, because a 30-year history in Hollywood, you would be able to assume that there is an ebb and flow with drug and alcohol use with almost every Hollywood legend based on what we see in the media, right? And in social media in the last 3 decades. So unless those people are living under a rock and don't understand how Hollywood works and they can't connect the amount of money and fame that this person has, maybe they'll find a direct correlation because of the way it's being presented, right? A lot of people were losing money because of him. He was spending a lot of money, but you know, the foundation and the background in Hollywood, hard for me to believe that they would see the direct correlation that way.
20-year-old men, 5 of them on the jury in their 20s. We'll see. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about social media and its impact on Amber Heard. Testimony today from an expert taking a look at what's happening on Twitter. Wow. Don't go anywhere.
UZZLE.com.
Yes, that's true. My Twitter account was suspended.
Do you recall when that was?
Not with specificity, no.
Do you recall why?
Well, I wrote several letters to Twitter to ask why I was suspended for life from their platform. And the response that I received was multiple violations of their policy. So I asked, could they name one example of those multiple violations? And they responded by saying now they were appealing, without my asking them to do so, my suspension. And that's when they sent me another note that I was suspended for life.
All right, that's Adam Waldman. He was originally Johnny Depp's lawyer in this case. And as you heard, the anti-free speech media company Twitter suspended him from life for some of his conduct, whatever he was doing. Not clear to him. But what's interesting, Twitter will soon, looks like, be owned by Amber Heard's ex, right? Full circle, folks. Okay, social media expert took the stand today. Ron Schnell's his name. He kind of looks at data and tries to figure out what it all means and what was happening. And really here talking about Waldman making some statements that were public statements to the press, and then the reaction and what happened on social media, specifically Twitter. Take a listen.
And what is significant about April 2020?
I understand that April 2020 is related to the alleged defamatory statements by Mr. Waldman. Well, there were over 1,243,000 and change uses of those hashtags during that time frame you just mentioned.
And did you perform an analysis of the negative hashtags from April 2020 until January 2022?
Yes, I did.
And what was the result of that?
There were over another million, so 2.38 million, I think.
And how did you determine that the tweets were negative about Ms. Heard?
Well, I hadn't been asked that until later on in this, but I didn't think that that would be in controversy. I mean, some of these hashtags are pretty rude, and it would really surprise me that anyone would think that they wouldn't be negative towards Ms. Heard. But when I was asked about it later, I actually took a random sampling and looked at them and could not find any that were not negative towards Ms. Heard.
Was there more negative tweets on April 6th and April 7th and in April 8th, 2020, as it relates to Ms. Heard?
Right. If you look at the day-by-day counts, which I supplied to Mr. Depp, and you can see that there's a spike that begins on April 6th and goes for a few days. So April 6th is, to my understanding, before what people are calling the alleged defamatory statement.
And did you look at the tweets for April 6th and April 7th?
I did.
And what did you find?
I found that there are Waldman statements that are the same as on the 8th, on the 6th, and the 7th. The Daily Mail on the 6th and Vanity Fair on the 7th.
And what terms were being used?
Well, hoax is certainly used in each of them. I think abuse hoax is used in one of them. I don't have it in front of me, but generally speaking, in the 7th, I think it's the same exact terms that are used in the one on the 8th, but the 6th may be slightly different, but it has the word hoax.
Seems like the PR campaign, right? And what's happening, but Amber Heard claiming that's part of the damage to her was the reaction to these defamatory, untrue statements. Let's bring back in our guest, Susan Constantine, Lamar Mojda. He is Dr. Robbie Ludwig. Dr. Robbie Ludwig, social media, a big part of our world now, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which side you're on right now. But the response of people on Twitter, whether it's fueled by bots or it's genuinely people's response, in this case, it looks like it goes back to the beginning, that it was always going to be anti-Amber Heard. Why is that?
Well, I think it's probably for several reasons. I mean, we do know that big Hollywood stars certainly have a PR team around them, and that could certainly influence the public. And many people feel very connected to Johnny Depp. They're huge fans. He's been in our lives for many, many decades. He's respected for his talented work in artistry. And women have a tougher time. And there is something about Amber Heard's presentation that doesn't work for her. There's a difficulty in connecting. There's a credibility issue. She is very beautiful, but I don't know if that exclusively is working against her in some regards. I think that she has a problem relating and a problem with being likable. And there's a lot of anger there. We see that with Amber. So the public is not ignorant. They are aware, they do have preferences, and right now we live in a world where people can say anything, whether it's right or wrong. We do see that.
Until you get banned. Lamar, you're not banned from TikTok, right? I was looking at the numbers today. Hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp, which are completely anti-Amber Heard posts or views, 13.6 billion views on TikTok. You're on TikTok. Is that a lot?
That's a lot. That's a lot.
How much damage is that doing to Amber Heard, do you think, out in Hollywood?
The world does not like Amber Heard. And those hashtags, that is just one hashtag. That's just one set of 13 billion views. And, I think that the world of social media is all about trends. So the first person goes out on the internet and says, we hate Amber Heard, they call her names. If it goes viral enough, people will just join that community and that hashtag to get their views up and get their content to go viral, right? It's not really even about what they know or what they think. It's about trends, following trends, being popular, right? Because the most we know about their relationship has come out now. I'm not sure the world really even knew Amber Heard before all of this, right? So I'm not shocked to see billions of views on hashtags like that at this point.
Susan Constantine, I'll give you the last word, but you only have 15 seconds.
Yeah, I would call this a social contagion, right? Just exactly what you're talking about here. You know, you get one group of people are talking about, especially these young people, and they all hitchhike off from it. It's a social contagion, and you're guilty just by association.
Great job, Susan Constantine, Lamar Mojdeh, and Dr. Robbie Ludwig. Thank you all so much. We'll see you again really soon.